Is Thunderball my favorite movie of all time? No, but it's not a bad day at the beach. I've always loved the water. Always. I first learned to swim at the CYO summer day camp. Occasionally, the CYO took us to a Astoria pool, which was great. It was one of the largest public pools in all of New York City, and there was plenty of room to explore. What I loved exploring most was underwater, that environment. I just loved it. I loved being under the water. Astoria Pool also had these two circular towers on either end of the pool. I used to practice holding my breath by swimming underwater laps around each of them. Yeah, I've always loved the water. And later, as an adult, as a father, I got to swim with my kids, and then later with my grandkids. I love that. Back in my CYO days, our old friend the $1 Million Movie ran a film called The Silent Enemy. It's supposedly the true story of Royal Navy Lieutenant Commander Lionel Crabb and how he stopped the Italian Navy's efforts to sabotage the British fleet docked at Gibraltar. The Italians would launch their frogmen from underwater hatches built into commercial freighters that were docked in nearby Spain. Lionel Crabb came up with the idea of forming a team of frogmen to stop the Italians and became something of a hero to the British public. He later died under mysterious circumstances while on a mission for MI6 to investigate the propeller of a Soviet naval cruiser that was docked at Portsmouth Harbor. Just so happens that Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev was aboard at the time. So years later, when Thunderball was released, I wondered, did Ian Fleming, Kevin McGlory, and Jack Whittingham know about the Italian war action? Had they seen The Silent Enemy? In Thunderball, Spectre hijacks a Vulcan bomber carrying two atomic bombs in order to blackmail the NATO powers. But Jack Whittingham, for instance, also wrote Q Planes, a spy film in which British warplanes are hijacked by a powerful ray beam directed by a ship at sea. In Thunderball, the atomic bombs are towed by an underwater sled. In The Silent Enemy, the torpedoes by underwater chariots. So as we can see, the story of Thunderball was a hodgepodge of influences, which may account for some of the legal problems that would soon follow. It also may account for some of the structural problems in the script by Richard Maybaum and John Hopkins. But I didn't know from structural problems when I was 12 years old. I only knew that something was off. Something was not quite right. Goldfinger was a deft and breezy piece of entertainment, but Thunderball seemed to lurch and lumber under its own weight. Many viewers thought it was boring, that there were too many underwater scenes, and that they went on far too long. That didn't bother me. I loved all that stuff. No, other things were bothering me. It was shortly after seeing Goldfinger that I read somewhere that Sean Connery wore a toupee. What? I didn't know what a toupee was. I had no idea. I had to look it up. And I was shocked. Our hero, James Bond, was bald. Say, it isn't so. So when I went to see Thunderball, all I could do was stare at his toupee. And after a while, when I got over the initial shock, I came to think of it in terms of wardrobe and makeup. Previously, a major studio release, especially a holiday release, would open in one or two premiere showcases and then gradually spread to the neighborhoods. But Thunderball was one of the first to open wide in as many theaters as possible. It made a lot of money and it made it fast. It was also the height of Bond mania, and like the lovable lads from Liverpool, he too was merchandised to the max. I had the records, the toys, the magazines. I had read all the books. I had seen each and every movie more than once. Toupee or not, Connery is in top form. It's a pleasure just to watch this guy walk across a room. Many great actors have athletic abilities, and it's almost a requirement if you're going to be a movie star. Adolfo Celle plays Spectre Agent Number 2, Emilio Largo, who is not the most memorable villain. And as for that eye patch, even at 12 years old, I went, really? Strangely, his being Italian also plays into the silent enemy. Maybe the writers did see the movie after all. No, the real villain of the piece is Fiona Volpe, and as played by Luciana Paluzzi, she almost steals the show. Production designer Ken Adams' work is great as usual. I love the Spectre boardroom scene near the beginning of the movie. But what I love most is the vacation feel of the movie. Lots of surf and sand and sunshine. And that's why it's not a bad day at the beach. When you can't get to the beach, when you can't get to a pool, when you can't get to the water. See you around the campus.